So if reality is a simulation and we are building it from within, there are different layers of blueprints that are helping construct this simulation that we live within. Let's talk about what those blueprints are and the ones that we've inherited that might not even be ours, so that we know the structure of the simulation that we're living within. To the whiteboard. So the first inherited blueprint you have is your genetics. So that is how your body looks, how tall you are, the color of your skin, the color of your eyes. This is your genetic hardware. So my hair is brown, my eyes are blue, etc., etc. And then we have epigenetics. And this is like inherited ways that your genes express themselves. And this is when you inherited a way of expressing such as humor, stress, anxiety. For instance, if your granddad was in a particular war, their genes would have knocked on a particular door and a certain gene would have started expressing themselves, and therefore when they had children, that gene was expressing themselves, and unless that person closed that door and dealt with the energy of that situation and then changed the genetic expression, it would be passed on to the next person. As we know, every gene has tens of thousands of different ways that it can express itself. So we up or down regulate our genes and we choose how they express themselves. So when we were born with particular genes expressing themselves that our parents opened, or that their parents opened and they never closed. Our body genetically prepares us for the environment that it thinks we're going to be born in by giving us a blueprint of genetics. So my dad was funny. I guess that was his survival technique. And therefore, when me and my sister were kids, we were hilarious. It was like our bodies were preparing us to be born into an environment where humor was a great way of surviving. This is how your body is genetically regulated, but you can up or down regulate those genes. And that's why you have twins. A different twin will get a different health condition because we up or down regulate our own genes from our own expression of life. So that is epigenetics. Then we have our inner child blueprint. And these are the core beliefs that we installed about reality when we were children, which was what we learned to believe we had to do to survive. And all of this begins to build our simulation. So we've got our genetics, our epigenetics, and our belief systems, which are all filtering our reality. Anything that we create from the quantum realm filters through all of this and then becomes a physical reality experience. Next, we have our psychological and our behavioral blueprints. And this is conditioning that we receive from our environment. So that could be our parents, that could be our culture, that could be school. It's things that we do that condition us to live within a particular blueprint. So it's like our environmental blueprint. We install all of these beliefs about who we have to be. For women, we have all of these beliefs that we have to look particular ways. Culture conditions us into realities where we believe we have to be a particular way to survive. Also, religion, media, spirituality, any way in which we are conditioned by our environment into belief systems, that is our psychological and behavioral blueprints. Next, we have the astral blueprint. Now, this is kind of like the best metaphor I've found to describe, to tell you what an astral blueprint is when developers are creating a video game, they will create almost like an algorithm, so they don't have to keep writing code for the game to expand. It's almost like the energetic patterns, the archetypal patterns that you have installed maybe even before you were born. A lot of us came in here to explore particular topics, so we will have a particular archetypal pattern that will keep our life looping in a particular storyline until we've learned what we've come to learn. For instance, this could be the wounded healer storyline or the grief storyline, whatever storyline we come in here to experience so that we can evolve in a particular way. That is our astral blueprint. Say about seeing patterns when they're going to have a mystical experience. This usually symbolizes a shift in the astral blueprint. This means that you have stepped from one archetype life story and moved into another one. So if I was going to quantum leap from my life story now into a life story where I was exploring space travel, I have no desire to explore space travel and to be an astronaut right now in my life. But if I was going to move into that timeline or that archetype of a person, I would go through a astral blueprint shift, which would be a quantum leap from who I am now into another archetypal person. And that's why we have these mystical experiences that shift us into these other timelines, other lives. And when you get to the astral plane, that's why it's so easy to actually shift, because you can see, you can see yourself from the outside and you're like, I see that I'm looping through this storyline continuously in my life. I'm going to shift from that timeline to this timeline to now explore a different story, to be a different archetype in one lifetime. Next, we have the cultural and collective blueprints. And these are like collective experiences. For instance, the introduction of AI. AI was a collective manifestation. There was such a collective need for this invention that we all collectively created AI. And even though it chose a group of people for it to come through, we would have collectively, unconsciously decided who the creators would have been for that, who the perfect person for the job, who was aligned with our expectations on what that would be. So this is how we build the simulation through blueprints. And this is why when we begin to shift our beliefs, all of this, because remember, reality comes from within us. So the first filter, the first blueprint that all of this comes from is actually your own belief systems. So if you really want to shift your reality, go to the first point where all of this spans from, and that is within yourself. It all comes through your genetics, your epigenetics, and your belief systems. So when you start to edit all of this internal stuff, all of this external stuff will begin to shift, because this is the core of all of that. It's all coming from inside. And that's how much power you truly have. You can change collective experiences through your own belief systems. And this is why, if you want to change your government, if you want to change these collective cultural experiences that you're going through, you actually have the power to choose the outcome. AI, for instance, we all get to choose which outcome of AI we align with. I'm not scared of AI whatsoever, because I know what timeline, I know the definitions and beliefs that I'm personally creating around AI. So I know that I'm going to be aligned with the collective blueprint of AI. That means AI will be a very positive thing for humanity. We get to choose the outcomes that we align with, and it all starts from our internal beliefs and definitions that we have about reality, that everything emanates from. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. Lots of love.